Before we get into the rage of this episode, I have to at least give it up to the cast and crew. Hearing of the conditions they were in while filming this night in and night out for nearly 2 months straight is a testament of their dedication to the show. It's just a shame we couldn't fucking see any of it! Yes, I'll start this off by saying that this episode was way too dark. I watched it on a 60-inch TV in a room with total darkness, and I could still hardly see what was going on in some scenes. Now, the dark atmosphere worked at the start of the battle. The Dothraki charging into total darkness only to get overwhelmed by the undead, crashing into the northern defense of Winterfell was a great and terrifying visual. But that's where these type of visuals should have stopped. Once the fighting starts, we do get a little relief once the dragons ridden by Jon and Dany start firebombing the undead, which gives us some much needed light. That should have brightened up the battle. Instead, we get an obnoxious blizzard that shrouds everything in even more visual clutter soon after. Great. Speaking of the Dothraki, why are they even in the front line? Sure, they do their best work in an open field, but what good do you expect them to do here? It doesn't even seem like they have dragonglass weapons. But it sure is lucky that Melisandre showed up when she did to light up their world. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. That might actually make them a little effective. Oh, no, wait, they're dead. This blizzard even ends up pulling double duty, as it not only blocks Dany and Jon's aerial advantage, but it also helps hide any sense of scale for the undead army. Funny how that works, huh? One of the most annoying things in this fight is its lack of scale. There is a force said to be 100,000 strong at least. We have seen how massive it is several times. Why are they never showing it in this battle? Is it to make them seem scarier? That they're never ending? You know what's scary? This. That is fucking intimidating, and we get none of it this episode. There should be zombies blanketing this whole fucking field, and I wonder why they don't show it. Oh, we'll be getting to that. We see the characters we've come to know and love over nearly a decade swarmed by the undead, and they are all surely gonna die, but nope, they're saved at the last minute, or it cuts away and the rest of what happens is off screen, so they're all good. This happens far too much. It's frustrating to the point that I questioned if the director of this episode had even seen the previous battle sequences in Hardhome and the Battle of the Bastards, only to be left in utter shock and disbelief when I learned that it was the same director as those 2 episodes. What the fuck? Did he just forget all the great things he did in those episodes? Gone are all the wide shots and epic long takes. Now we get quick cuts, shaky cam, and close-ups. Fucking fantastic. But hey, at least it looks pretty sometimes. All style and no substance. That's what Game of Thrones is built upon, right? Whatever. On the ground, the northern army begins to retreat with the Unsullied covering them. Grey Worm collapses the bridge behind him, meaning he's doomed his entire army to their certain deaths, so the Unsullied are gone. Haha, nope. We see them later escorting Melisandre to the barrier so she can light it on fire. I'm guessing these guys were the B team, told to stay inside the castle, standing around just in case someone needs an escort. That's sure convenient. Once again showing that having a lack of scale for both armies is a hindrance. Anyway, she ends up lighting it, causing the undead army to stop in their tracks for about 5 minutes. During that time, nobody bothers to, I don't know, shoot them with dragonglass arrows or something. Seriously, they just stare at them as if they're expecting them all to collapse into bones and dust right now. Don't worry, that happens later, and I'll get to that. Our heroes have to defend the castle itself from being overrun. And I say our heroes, because from here on, they're basically all we ever see, rarely seeing any of what remains of their allies' army. I mean, where are all these guys who retreated into Winterfell? Are they getting one last jerk-off in the courtyard while they wait for their inevitable deaths? I mean, what is going on? Just fuck it, whatever. The armies are only for show. No one actually cares about scale. Anyways, the Night King remembered he's supposed to be the big bad of this series, so he attacks Dany and Jon. What happens next is a 3-way dragon battle of epic proportions. But you know the drill at this point. Too dark, can't see shit. You know it's bad that when this scene is altered by someone who actually cares about the show, and it comes off looking as if it's from a completely different show. I mean, how many people actually knew Viserion's jaw got ripped open before they realized it later when he landed down in Winterfell? Because I'm guessing it wasn't a whole lot. The Night King is knocked off his dragon and is later confronted on the ground by Jon. Remember when there was 100,000 of these fucking zombies? Because I do. We see none of them here as Jon sprints to kill the Night King. I mean, where the fuck are they? Did they all make it inside Winterfell already? What is happening? What are the stakes? Fuck it, who cares? The two have a stare down as the Night King begins to raise the dead. Jon is overwhelmed before he can get to him and has to actually fight some zombies in this episode for once, as the Night King strolls off to kill Bran. Arya, meanwhile, has stumbled into a zombie Metal Gear Solid game as she has to sneak around a few zombies in a library. Why? What are these ones even doing here? There is a seemingly massive, overwhelming siege taking place. What are they doing meandering around in a fucking library? Are they trying to find George's remaining books to see what's actually supposed to happen here? Shouldn't they be manically sprinting around the castle, stabbing anything they see? Or do they just not do that anymore? She manages to get past them and runs into the Hound and Barrack. Barrack dies, saving her, and then sudden Melisandre is there to tell her she still has eyes left to shut and remind her of the god of death. So Arya sprints straight off to piss off millions of Game of Thrones fans. Dany, meanwhile, manages to save Jon so he can chase down the Night King and have their long-awaited and epic confrontation. Can't wait for that to happen. As Dany watches him run away, she's suddenly swarmed by the undead army, seemingly coming out of nowhere to remind us that they still exist. She's knocked to the ground as Drogon takes off without her, and she is surely gonna die here. Luckily, Jorah read a few pages ahead in the script and manages to Batman himself past the army of the dead and right to her side with no problem. Man, this season's writing is just so fucking good. Thankfully, the zombies have forgotten how to overwhelm and swarm their enemies, so they just attack one at a time so they can easily defend themselves in an open field with no backup when there should be tens of thousands of zombies. Just the two of them. Back to Jon as he works his way through Winterfell in order to get to the Night King. Along the way, he sees that only Jaime, Brienne, Tormund, Gendry, Podrick, and Grey Worm are still even fighting the undead at this point, in this wannabe Avengers lineup shot. How are any of them alive at this point? Remember how the army of the dead used to fight, overwhelming an enemy and just ruthlessly stabbing them over and over? Why are they just backing them up against a wall and doing nothing? What is happening? Jon's advance is stopped by Viserion as he's forced to take cover as the Night King has found Bran and kills Theon. Jon decides he needs to face down Viserion, so he gets up from behind cover and shouts at it. What? What are you doing, Jon? You have a Valyrian steel sword. Whip it out and pull a Chamber of Secrets on the motherfucker. What are you doing just screaming at it, you idiot? Back to the Night King as he prepares to kill Bran. We see a gust of wind blow past one of the White Walkers. As he is reaching for his weapon, suddenly Arya appears, leaping from behind in an attempt to assassinate him. He catches her and she pulls off the knife trick she used in her fight with Brienne. It works and she stabs and kills him, causing all the White Walkers and the army of dead to be destroyed in the process, ending the war. What the fuck? What? Why Arya? What the hell is the point of that? And let me be clear here. Arya is one of, if not my most favorite characters in this show. I'm absolutely fine with her being involved in some way with defeating the Night King. But to have her solo kill him after no build up to the confrontation is just ridiculous. To put it in perspective about how I feel about this, let me give an example using one of my favorite childhood shows. In that show, it spends the majority of 3 seasons building up to the battle between Aang and the Fire Lord. Aang needing to defeat the Fire Lord, which will bring peace and balance to the world once again after a 100-year war. This is Aang's duty as the Avatar, being set up and built upon since the first season as the end goal for the series. Now, what if instead of Aang taking on the Fire Lord, Toph is the one who ends up defeating him, despite no build up to that fact? They give her the win over Aang simply because subversion. It just doesn't work. It wouldn't have worked. And that's how it plays out for Game of Thrones. Jon is the one who should have at least fought the Night King. The two have at least 3 fucking stare downs throughout the series, only for them to never engage in a direct battle with one another. What the fuck? All the buildup and anticipation led to nothing. Arya killed him by herself. Why would the Lord of Light bring him back from the dead only to accomplish nothing? And no, it wasn't so he can build the northern defenses, since if he was still dead, he would have never recruited Dany and her dragons in the fight. Hence, the Night King wouldn't have gotten to turn Viserion, resulting in the wall being destroyed. But I guess it was worth it for the fucking subversion, huh? You know, why not simply have Jon and Arya take him on together? Jon confronting the Night King in the Godswood one-on-one. Jon would manage to hold his own for a while, only to be overpowered and knocked to the ground as the Night King would stand over him ready to deal the final blow. Then, Arya would appear in a similar way she does in the show, distracting the Night King long enough for Jon to rise. And with him still distracted by Arya's little knife trick, Jon lunges at him. They stab him simultaneously in the front and back, ending the war together. That just seems a lot more reasonable, but now an entirely reasonable result for this fight is simply fanfiction. All because subverting expectations of the audience is the new trend in media, even if it's at the cost of your fan base. And even worse, at the cost of your very own story and characters.
You know, if you've planned your book that the butler did it, and then you read on the internet someone has figured out that the butler did it, and you suddenly change in midstream and it was the chambermaid who did it, then you screw up the whole book, because you get this foreshadowing early on, and you've got these little clues you planted. Now they're dead ends. And
It's all so fucking stupid.